Hi, everybody. It's been a while since I've dropped a post on Substack, and I've really been missing y'all. And I hope you've been missing me too. Um, they were like two or three a week there for a while, and I've taken a little bit of a mini sabbatical and busy with other projects, but perhaps it provides a space within which you can get a break from me or develop a kind of a longing for more content. So today I'm sort of excited to break my sabbatical, my fast, with a very special guest all the way from Mexico. Zarah Calvert is with us today to share some of her wonderful insights and experiences, multicultural, cross cross professional. Welcome, Zarah.
Thank you, Hugh. Good to be here with you.
Yeah. So, Zara, you have many talents, and only some of which I'm aware of, but I know that you're a yoga teacher and a musician. I've heard some of your music. You've even written a musical and have an album. And I've read a couple of your blogs. You're a very good writer, and you're graduated from the Hakomi training, Hakomi method of somatic mindful self-inquiry, which I myself have also done. So we have that in common.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you're living as a Canadian down in Mexico on the West Coast. And so I think that would be fascinating for people to hear about how that's been for you, carving out a new life in a new country. And so there's lots that we can talk about. So how are you doing anyway?
Overall, I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I just got back from a fabulous trip to Oaxaca,
Oh,
which is interesting. That was where I was first going to move.
okay.
Um, Actually, that might be a kind of good place to just start because that
Sure.
was the plan. The plan was
All right.
to leave, Canada for Oaxaca, just because I had heard about it from so many people and how great it was.
Right.
And yeah, I left Canada. I mean, I was away for all of the you know, the whole like pandemic COVID thing. I was away for all of it. So I was in Costa Rica having the time of my life. Naked on the beach by myself, meditating, I
Great.
really
Great.
had a beautiful time of transformation. And then I came back to Canada to visit friends and family
Yeah.
and uh, definitely was not feeling the vibe with not being allowed to go to yoga class, not being allowed to go to restaurants, all of these things because I chose not to uh
Be vaccinated?
yeah, take the
Yeah.
jab,
Yeah.
which I don't judge anybody that felt they had to do that.
Sure.
That's not my choice.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to Oaxaca.
Mm.
And then there was 2 weeks where the government had issued that travel mandate whereby if you don't have the vaccination, blah blah, you can't travel. So I was like, get
Right.
me out of here. Sold like all my stuff in Nelson, BC, had a huge garage sale. And because there was only 2 weeks, I didn't have enough time to book a good flight to Oaxaca. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to San Pancho first because I have a friend of a friend who has a retreat center. So she said, come and land here, then you can go to Oaxaca. So I did. I landed there at a beautiful retreat center in Las Lomas, which is north of Puerto Vallarta, called Halaxai. Beautiful. If there's any practitioners listening, such a beautiful space if you're looking for a retreat space. And then I just started meeting community here. You know, have a great women's circle. I joined a band. I was in a great like punk and ska reggae band. And things just started flowing. So then I just said, I'm tired of moving and schlepping around. I'm just going to stay here. So I ended up here in
Yeah.
a little town north of San Pancho called
Yeah.
Lodumar.
Coincidentally, I was in San Pancho for just a few days last year.
I
Around,
know we know each other.
you weren't there. I think you were
Yeah,
traveling, or yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But it's an amazing place. They call it the Nayarit Riviera because
Yes.
there's a whole string of beaches and little towns. Yeah. Well, yeah, so it's been a few years, and the pandemic sort of was a factor in your decisions.
100%. I mean,
Yeah,
I chose Mexico because it seemed the most laissez-faire
right.
in terms of all of their policies. And,
Yeah,
you know, it was the Wild West, which is one of the reasons why I came here and I love it. And then it's also one of the reasons why I want to pull my hair out sometimes.
right. Like wild women occasionally do. Now, you are a bit of a wild woman. You know, you keep it under wraps a lot of the time. I think, you know, you've learned how to, the social etiquette and all that kind of thing. But that idea of, you know, the shamanic or the crone, or you know, in the older years, or the wise woman, the nonconformist, um, innovative, the warrior energy, warrioress. Could you address that a little bit? Do you see yourself in that way? It's part of your
I I feel like I'm
persona?
definitely stepping into that.
Okay.
Yeah, more and more so recently. I mean, in terms of, you know, shamanic lineages, I used to work for a company called Wild Women Expeditions for a long
There
time.
you go.
I was a guide, and I used to guide women, you know, in Hawaii and all over Canada and Peru for a few years. So I have spent a lot of time in Peru, and when I was there, I,
Right.
you know, did sit with various
Mhm.
medicines and had a lot of sort of transformative and exploratory times there.
Well,
Um,
you've got it so much in you, you don't even realize it. It's like if you ask somebody, "Are you a shaman?" The real shaman won't say so. They'll say, "No," or "Are you a guru?" And they say, "No, no, no." And you're saying, "I'm not really a wild woman," but you definitely wear the archetype quite comfortably.
and I'm a Leo.
Oh, that's right. From Leo to Leo. Ah. Yeah.
Uh, you know, so I definitely appreciate a lot of those teachings and a lot of those ways. And then whenever I'm in Canada, you know, I've always had an affinity for, you know, connecting with the Red Road and just, you know, Aboriginal teachings, First Nations.
Yeah. The good red
Growing
road.
growing up in Barrie, you know, I went to camp in Beausoleil Island, so we were always, you know, very aware of the land that we were on and the Anishinaabe people that were there before us. And
Right.
I've always felt a resonance. And yeah, so I kind of try and embody that myself and then also bring that forth into, you know, my Hakomi practice with my clients,
Yeah.
my music.
Right.
Uh, yeah, and I'm always, you know, evolving and growing. And as my hair is graying, I'm like, oh, I am getting more crony. Yeah.
It's a great word. It's interesting. I've always been fascinated in linguistics and language and sounds, and I work with authentic voice. And I was making a list of words. I was doing some research on Chiron, the wise centaur of Greek mythology and astronomy now, and astrology as well. And so I made a list of words that have those three consonants, k, n, and crone is one of them. Chiron, crone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as a healer, a Hakomi therapist, what maybe you could just tell people a little bit about it, but more importantly, how you uh, offer through that medium, that vehicle, your
Mm.
own take on spiritual growth, even or healing, psycho spiritual, you might call it, psychotherapy, the path of life, the good red road for the individual.
Hang on one sec. Safi, no. Can you hear that? Is that
Is that your husband?
it's my Safi, come here. Come. Somebody's walking by. So
Oh, well,
um
I hope Safi will put in an appearance.
well, I'll get her to come out and have a little
Okay. Say
sort
hello.
of caffeinator. She's been a big part of my Mexico
Yeah, yeah.
dog, by the way, I'm talking about, who's hiding under the couch but barking at people as they're walking. Um, what were we talking about? I'm
Well,
also
yeah,
curious.
so like a Hakomi and like with a client, you know, if you were in a session with a client,
Yeah.
where do you come? from? With what?
I,
How do you meet them? What space? And something like that.
yeah, I mean, during the training, I was one of the only couple of people who did not have previous training. A lot of people had their, masters in counseling
Oh,
and they have
sure.
various different modalities.
Right.
This Hakomi has been my sort of one and only,
Right. Yeah.
which I got great feedback from the rest of my cohort because they were like, "We should have just done this. We
Right.
wasted a lot of time and money." But
Exactly. Yeah.
saying that tongue in cheek, every modality has its
Of
fortes.
course.
Um, sort of where I'm coming from is I've been on, sort of doing deep dives into wellness and healing, for myself since my early 20s, different, meditations and silent retreats. And I've been, studying and teaching Kundalini Yoga for about 20, 25 years.
Wow. Mhm.
Uh, various other pranayama, spent
Yeah.
time, all of that, the whole
Yes.
like searching the world to just realize, oh, we already have it here all in ourselves. But
Yes.
um,
Right.
so, with my clients, I love what I love about Komi is that there's no real plan.
Mm.
It's like everything is just, it happens and unfolds organically. So I've also been really interested in self-inquiry for a long time. I've sat and studied with Gangaji, which is, the lineage of Muji and um, Sri Ramana, which is silence, a lot of silence. So for me, Hakomi is more just like a guided self-inquiry. I never pretend to be, I'm not going to fix you. You're already whole. I'm just here to sort of shine some light on maybe some parts of you that are lying dormant or unconscious, some behaviors, maybe some habits. And it can vary. I mean, depending on, the person with whom I'm working, sometimes I'll get some dance involved. I used to facilitate a lot like ecstatic dance and five rhythms. So sometimes it'll be movement oriented. Sometimes I'll get my guitar and play music or use my drum, get them to sing, get them to move, sometimes be in silence. Um, talk about different supplements and because
Yeah.
I've
Right.
health
Hmm.
protocols,
Hmm.
do some yoga, do some pranayama. It really sort of depends on, you know,
On
the
the
person.
individual and their path and their process. Well, there are many, many modalities. Hakomi is a great one. I've studied it myself, and every human being has a different assortment of history, karma, some people might call it, relationships, experience, powers, and limitations too. And often the limitations are based on those, as you were mentioning, those psychological beliefs maybe that come from trauma or disappointments or a missing experience. But there does seem to be a growing acknowledgement, at least in certain cycles, in the awakening community, people who are starting to get on some kind of a path, right, of discovery and seeking consciousness. That idea, the concept that we already have everything there, pretty much. We just have some extraneous material. It's like, was it Michelangelo that said, the sculpture is already inside the marble, and the artist just needs to see what parts of the stone need to be removed so that the essence can be visible. So in a way, we're all like that, just waiting to be discovered and waiting to discover ourselves instead of having to constantly go after something. And as you say in Hakomi, there's no real agenda per se. The therapist learns the map, and how to navigate the map as things come up. But really, the client is in charge in a sense. And I was in a car rally once. I was the navigator, and my friend was the driver. So the therapist is like the navigator, but at the end of the day, it's the person who's behind the wheel that's going to have the power to go here or there. So the client knows, and so the therapist just sort of helps to get like in curling, when they're sweeping away the
Yep, all
flotsam
the
and jetsam from the ice so that that stone can just slide right along.
yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentioned something about music and healing, dance even. Um, how do you see that perhaps as a path unto itself or a modality?
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, dance and so movement, whether it's like, particularly free form. I mean, I do choreographed dance as well, like modern dance, which is great for having to use your mind and remember steps and all of that. It's kind of like
Yes,
Sudoku. So
sure.
that's beneficial in its own way.
Yeah,
Um, but dance in particular, ecstatic dance, five rhythms dance is really just a way to, for me, it's catharsis. It's a therapy without having to be in your head and
right,
talking.
right.
That you music inform how you want to move your body. And it's not about like 5, 6, 7, 8 looking pretty. It's about like it can be really like dissonant and
Yeah.
off tempo and like full of rage or whatever.
Hmm.
And I feel like when we have opportunity to use those modalities, dance, music, some people like heavy metal, whatever, like it's a way to sort of mobilize those emotions and to process those emotions. So then you don't end up on the 400, like blaring your horn,
Right.
swearing, road rage, whatever, or yelling at your partner or your, a loved one.
Mm-hmm. There's so much repression in our probably
Mm.
all cultures, but and I grew up in the West, and I know it best. Repression of emotion, sexuality. Don't say this, don't do that, behave. So that kind of a combination of having some form, um, a rhythm perhaps, or whatever instrumentation, but also having that kind of jazz-like or flamenco too is like that where you improvise. It's like Hakomi, you have to be in the moment and say, okay, what wants to happen? So not so much what I want to happen, what I'm going to make happen, but what is the what's not Gestalt? What's the word? Zeitgeist? Is that the
Mm,
anyway, the
I don't
essence of the moment. I can't forget what that word is, but something Geist, Zeitgeist. There we go. It's like what's happening in the moment, and I like a really wonderful Hakomi-like question is what's emerging for you right now, or where are you feeling most life in your life right now? So that combination of order and chaos, and you promised you might sing a song for us.
Yes, I would be happy to.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yes, please.
Zappy. Oh, I wanted to get her out here. Come on. No, she's
Does,
camera.
does she howl along with the music like a
Oh,
wolf?
oh, she does. When I play my piano,
Yeah.
she'll come, whatever room she's in, she'll come to the piano and just sit and,
Ah,
you know,
ah.
perch and look at me, and
So she digs the music.
she loves it.
Yeah. So what are you going
So
to play there, Zara? Zarita?
deciding, I think I want to play this one. I wrote this one after a, a mushroom journey in Costa Rica years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, and I also, I facilitate psilocybin and Wachuma, which is San Pedro.
Oh, yes, right. Oh, you facilitate journeys with other people? What?
Individual usually or like small groups.
Right. Well, that's significant. Yeah.
That's definitely been one of my medicines.
Yeah, yeah. We could do another whole interview someday on just on that alone.
Anyways, this came out of a mushroom journey.
Okay,
So,
great.
and this is going to be on, I have an EP that I'm currently recording. So,
Oh, oh, just hold on for a sec. There's a feature on your Zoom called Original Sound for Musicians.
okay.
There's a button. For me, it's
Oh,
in
yeah.
the yeah, and just click it on, and that that'll
On.
prevent the music from cutting off. Especially for the singing. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we're good now.
great.
Yeah. I'm calling, calling, calling back my spirit now. parts of her I've left behind. Shine light on every fragment bare, and I see how I could use a little more forgiveness, be more kind. So I take her gently into my arms. I remind her to lean into the love, open up to the light, celebrating joy and peace is our true birthright. Open up to the trust, turn away from the lies. Feel the sacred beating deep in your heart and know it's time to rise. This is our time. I'm dancing, dancing, dancing by the riverside, in reverence of her steadiness and her flow. Naked and proud, music so loud I can't hide. How connected to the roots of the earth I am, this I know. My body is a moving prayer. I let go as I lean into the love. Open up to the light, yeah. Celebrating joy and peace is our true birthright. Open up to the trust, turn away from the lies. Feel the sacred beating deep in your heart and know it's time to rise. And I'm singing to my ancestors, I know they hear all the gratitude that I move through Spirit's door. 'Cause I know the time has come to wipe karma's clear for the 7 generations ahead and 7 before. And this good work we do on our own can mean so much more when as one we lean into the love. Open up to the light, celebrating joy and peace is our true birthright. Open up to the trust, turn away from the lies. Feel the sacred beating deep in your heart and know it's time to rise. Don't be afraid to let yourself be seen and don't apologize. Drop every shackle that has held you back and know it's time to fly. This is our time. This is our time, yeah. This is your time. This is my time. This is our time.
Yeah. I was wanting to pick up a drum or something to accompany you. I could imagine the full orchestra even really
Yeah, the
getting into
recording
it.
is a bit different. It's like organ and
Yeah,
it's like beats. It's very
yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah.
But the message is the same because I do feel like this is our time. I know Hugh, you and I have talked about, this time is pretty crunchy in
Oh,
terms of a lot of dissonance and chaos.
oof,
And
absolutely, yeah.
so,
How are
you
you
know,
dealing with it? I mean, it's almost not polite to not make mention of what's going on in the world, because so many are suffering and scared. And
mhm.
how to just personally, how are you coping?
I mean, I lead a pretty, you know, I tend to put myself in little bubbles wherever I am.
Yeah,
Nelson, BC for a long time,
right.
Ometepe Island in Nicaragua, like, very. And then I struggle sometimes with, am I just being, really a Luddite or, blissfully uninformed of what's going on? And at the same time, um, I really just try and keep my own vibration high through, my various practices, yoga,
Yes.
qigong,
Yeah.
music, dance,
Great.
hanging out with high vibe people, having good conversations, all of that, with the hope that that will
Hmm.
help reverberate out to whichever community I'm in, you know,
So that's
and
kind of
then
your form of activism, you might say, rather
mm,
than protesting on the street, but you're building a crystal aura and positive habits and behaviors that others can see and learn from, maybe.
yeah, I mean, I try to, and I mean, I have my imperfections too, and I
Yeah,
have my
sure. We know
my
we all, yeah.
flaws or my
Yeah.
challenges that I work with. I'm not always Pollyanna.
No, well, those are
It's
the spices in the stew, right?
That's right.
The-
And living in Mexico, it's not, some people are like, oh, you're so lucky. First of all, it's not luck, it's a choice. So
Yeah,
I encourage anybody who's listening, if you're looking at other people's lifestyles and saying how lucky they are, you know, sometimes I mean, yes, I was born into a life of privilege where I've had education and opportunity to
yeah,
educate and travel and all of that. And
right.
within that, I've made choices.
Hmm.
And, Mexico is sometimes not easy. It's not like Margaritaville. It's like a lot of miscommunication, even though my language skills are quite good. It's, a whole other culture. Um, a lot of waiting. I say people are like, "What do you do in Mexico?" I'm like, "I wait."
Yeah.
And it's
Mañana, it's a cliche, right?
yeah, but I'm also aware that it's a privilege for me to have been able to come here and make this choice and all of that.
Mm. Of
But I get angry and I get impatient and I get frustrated sometimes. And
course, yeah.
when I do that, I go for a walk on the beach with my dog and or go for a swim in the sea and yell into the sea, or would try and transmute that energy and try and
Yeah,
alchemize
all right. Offer
those
it up
negative
to the
vibes.
gods and the goddesses.
Yeah, and it's important to feel it too, because I feel like for a long time I didn't feel it
Mm.
coming from
Yeah,
British heritage, stiff upper lip, repress, suppress, people pleasing, blah blah. That's not great either.
right.
So finding the balance of feeling it all, alchemizing it, and then
Yeah.
coming up the other side.
Right. Do you having a house and a place in a nice little town in Mexico, a place where people go and spend a lot of money to have a holiday? Was
Mhm.
really, and I was there once too, so I saw it. Um, will you be offering any kinds of workshops, maybe, or
I
retreats
mean,
for people?
I do like a monthly new moon full day retreat from my house
Okay, for local people.
for the people in the area.
Yeah,
Um, I used to do a lot of retreats, and now I'm not so much.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
doing more. I would be open to, working with other people.
right.
At this point, I'm more open to if somebody has a great retreat and they want a Hakomi practitioner or a facilitator, I
To be
can
part
set
of a
people up with,
program. Yeah,
yeah, sweat lodges, cacao, all of that.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And then I just host like small, I would host like one person to do like a
Mm,
3 day.
mm, mm. So what I'm thinking of, if somebody had the means
Yeah.
to maybe in the winter time, to go down for 2 weeks or a month even, depending on
Mhm.
theirs, to that area where you live,
Mhm.
and part of their holiday experience could be having some sessions with you, either Hakomi sessions or yoga or Kundalini or even a psychedelic journey.
Right.
And then, so they're not staying with you, but they're in the vicinity and
Well,
they
yeah, I mean,
can.
there's a great hotel right across the street. I mean, that's where my dad stays when he comes.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a month.
So they'd have
Yes.
access to your services.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, sounds great. Well, For our viewers, listeners, and viewers, this will also be on the YouTube podcast.
Mm.
We'll put your website, if that's okay,
Yeah.
underneath the video
Yeah.
and a short description of the video. And so, well, it feels like we could go off in a million different directions, but I do try to keep these on the short-ish side because you know the way people are. They see an hour-long video and say, tomorrow I'll have more time, and then it never
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
I'm
So if
one
it,
of those people, I know.
yeah. So if it's like around half an hour, people say, "Oh, I could watch that in one sitting. I'll go and get my mate or coffee or something." And, oh, so Zafi's not going to make a guest appearance?
I really want her to because she's been such a part of my life here. I gotta
Yeah.
grab this
That
little
would be
bit.
sweet.
Just
Yeah,
give
go
me.
ahead. Yeah, take your
Zombie, come
time.
on. Come. Zombie, come.
Meanwhile, I'll just thank you all for attending today or watching, and I'm so happy to have you as a subscriber in Substack. It's such a cool platform, very open and free, democratic, and there she is.
So this is my little one of my best friends.
Wow,
Saf, come on, baby girl.
bigger since the last time I saw.
I know she
Wow.
just keeps growing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like crazy. She's like Wilt Chamberlain. Her legs are so long. Like, look at how long.
Oh, yeah.
Saf, can you say hello?
Hi, Zafi. Hola. Hola, Zafi. ¿Qué tal?
So yeah,
¿Qué tal?
she's my first commitment. We've been together 3 years, which is my longest relationship thus far.
It's a dog's world. Well, she's beautiful. I remember
She
her as
is.
a
She's
little
such a good
puppy.
little compañera.
Somehow I thought she was one of those breeds that would always stay really chiquita, but
Well, I was hoping for that, which is
yeah,
why I first said yes to that because I said I travel a lot, so she
right.
needs to be able to fit in a bag. And they were like, "Oh yeah, she's full grown. We're good." That was that was 10 pounds ago. But anyway,
You'll
there's no
be
regret.
riding her on your next journey to Oaxaca.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Is there anything else just before we sign off? Is there any little message you'd like to leave the world? Make the world a better place, or just
I mean, yeah, I think just echoes from the chorus of that song, really like making a conscientious effort to lean into the love because there's so much fear right now. You
yeah,
know, it's like I'm
yeah,
going to Puerto Vallarta. I'm trying to choose between a movie to see. They're all like thriller,
oh,
sci-fi,
right,
violent,
right,
scary. So it's like, the agenda right now is push fear. So we really have
exactly.
to be strong in our spirit to
It's right.
say no to that and to make a choice to
Yes. I
lean into
just
compassion. Yeah.
about an hour ago I saw a little clip and it said something like every time a woman voices her fear, 1,000 grandmothers listen and respond.
Hmm.
Isn't that nice? That
Hmm.
idea of you in the song you were talking about the seven generations behind and ahead.
Yeah.
So when we think that there's a whole lineage, of ancestors that are looking down maybe or across and wishing us well, and they maybe have some superpowers that they can lend to us in our struggles. And
Yeah. Yeah, so just more quiet time, more silence, more time in contemplation, more reflection, more laughing. Start watching a lot of start watching comedy,
yeah,
all of that. Tell jokes.
laughter is the best medicine. So it's like being calm in the storm, laughing in the misery, being light in the heaviness,
Yeah.
going against the current.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
saying this as a reminder to myself too.
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. Well, un abrazo, as they say in Spanish, a hug
Sí, abrazo
from
fuerte.
Toronto.
Sí.
And thank you so much for gracing the screen.
Thank you. It was good to spend time with you.
Yeah, would you come back another time in the future?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Mañana, mañana.
Mañana. Okay.
All right, take
Bye.
care. Ciao.
Thanks again.